Welcome back to a bevy of bloods for round 7 of the 2023 AFLW season. We celebrated Marrickville, but with last week's roaring win came this week's disappointing loss. But look, fluff up those tail feathers and we'll get stuck into it with a potentially but hopefully less biased yarn about all things to do with our beloved Bloods.
Swans!
G'day there, Cygnets and Swanlings. Again, I am Chris, and this week I am joined by the usual crew of Stevo and Polly. Welcome back, both of you.
Cheers,
Hello.
mate. Good to see you.
It's good to have you both. Now, look, just before we get stuck into it, my normal spiel. Do you support the Swans? Of course you do. Do you support other Swan supporters? I do, and you should too. You know what you should also do? Support the potty that is supporting your Swans by going to any of the social medias of your preference and to where this potty is. Hit like, hit subscribe, all those boring things, and I'll start leaving you alone going forward. All right, now let's get stuck into the game. Last Saturday, our Sydney Swans were defeated by the Hawthorn Hawks by 14 points with a final score of 5-10-40 for the Hawks and 3-8-26 for the Swannies. First impressions to the crew. Polly, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, that was a tough loss. I don't really know how we lost that game. I'm starting to feel like when we're the favourites, we do worse. So, you know, maybe don't put so much pressure on the girls and maybe they'll come back good.
Leave them alone.
Yeah, they were really good early signs and then they just fell off and it was very disappointing to see. But then again, like most of the ball was in their forward 50, so the defenders did a good job to keep it to only 14 points, I have to say. Yeah, not great one to talk about, but there were still some good parts of the game.
Yeah, we'll get stuck into all of those. Steve-O, what about yourself, man?
I didn't watch it live. I was out of town all weekend, so I didn't get to see the game in real time. And I checked the scores because I wasn't going to wait 2 days to watch the game. It would be impossible to know the scores. So I knew the score when I watched the replay the other day. And watching the first 3 minutes, I would have thought we were going to flog them by 10 goals. You know, I was like, how do we possibly not win from here? And then it just they took over. I mean, after those first 2 goals, Hawthorn had, I think, the next 8 scoring shots I counted, and it took us until the start of the second quarter to get a touch inside 50, which gives you an idea of just how dominant they were with the field position and our inability to sort of get the ball out of the back half. And I don't know, okay, it's a developing side, and we know that, and I think we do need to be patient still, and they're going to be up and down. They'll have their better weeks, like against Port, and then this is like the flop back the other way. But it was frustrating because I thought we were going to win this one. You know, it's not like we got beaten by Brisbane or by Melbourne or someone. It was a home loss against a team that we thought that we could really have a good chance of getting a good result against, and you know, hopefully staying in consideration for finals, and it just didn't happen. So it was disappointing, but there was some good moments in the game that we can chat about as well. But yeah, pretty frustrating, honestly, to watch the replay of it.
Yeah, a bit sad. I mean, we were all really excited. I took the Chilean contingency, my grandparents and my parents, out to the game. Noddy met us at halftime. We had a big crew. We were all really excited. And yeah, I think all of us kind of felt that the way we've been playing lately, we deserved to win this game, and we had it in us to win the game, and it just didn't see like we got firing, like a bit pretty disappointing, man. Like I didn't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to even pinpoint where they lost. Part of me thinks not having our two of our main forwards did really make a big impact. That we didn't have Lachlan or Newman, which honestly so devastating. We'll come back to how bad the game was, but the fact that Alicia Newman didn't get to wear her jersey that she designed in Marrickville is just, I think it just started us off for disappointment, because when that happened, it was going to be all downhill from there.
I feel that's the omen. That's when we knew we all should have been like, we're in a problem here. Alicia Newman's not going to play in her own jersey. Like, what the hell? Yeah.
So I think that both not having her or Brooke really, I think, did make a big impact. We had a very junior forward line with Beck being basically the only one back there. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. I think it was kind of interesting. Like Mr. Scowen's coach, he kind of was a bit he really kind of felt that the game in itself was like really, he was happy with the game, like in a way that he's like, it was a highly contested game. He said the following things. It was a contested kind of game. We couldn't just keep up with the pressure. And he suggested it's a bit of an analogy. On a journey, it's like we're on a bus and sometimes the bus hits traffic. And he was kind of suggesting that sometimes just you basically hit a wall and you just can't get through it. But it was just kind of an interesting approach to what I felt he should have riled them up. Like, this is a game against the peers of the Swannies around at the same time, just as Steve-O was saying, and they could have done something with it. I would have loved to have seen them do something with it, Steve-O?
Yeah, and they sort of, I mean, you could see that after those first 3 minutes when the Swans controlled the ball, I think Hawthorn barely touched the ball in the first couple of minutes. And the Swans had 2 goals on the ball before they could blink, and then they got it forward, and they got a good goal themselves, and they were just able to really, really work hard. Like, I think Hawthorn played well, and they played the sort of game that that didn't suit the Swans, because the Swans have been, all through the season, we've seen them wanting to move the ball with precision and with dash and with dare, and they clogged it up. They didn't let the Swans clear their lines. The Swans were forced to kick long to either contests, or they were forced to kick short to 50-50s quite a lot of time, come out of the back. Ball got turned over, and we just weren't getting the ball forward for huge chunks of that game. And it happens, you know. You do get bad days, and the problem is when you've only got 10 matches, you don't want to have too many of them, you know. It's hard to catch up once you start dropping wins.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about Polly. I remember we were talking about like the smaller, if we're going to be going these small little kicks back and forth all the time, and that's going to be our strategy, it's not going to take long for someone to figure it out. Like,
yeah.
It kind of felt like after that was done, after we were just being caught and the ball was getting turned over, we didn't have another plan. We didn't go for anything else. I know they moved some players around, but nothing really eventuated from it.
Yeah, it was a bit weird. Like, when you think about the Port game and you compare, because I guess this is a really good comparison, because Port also came into the league at the same time as the Swans and the Hawks. So you would think all three of us should be on pretty even playing fields. When we were playing Port, we figured out a way to get the game back in our momentum and win. We could not figure that out against the Hawks, and I'm just really struggling to pinpoint where that came from, because our best players still stood up and had really good games.
Yeah, that's a good
and
point.
if you look at the stats are very even across the board, but it did not feel like that watching. And I know we often talk about how with the women's game, the stats really don't mean all that much. But I just wonder if maybe injuries and not having our regular team and stuff like that, where the girls who have the more experience just couldn't figure out how to get everyone to follow what they were trying to do. Yeah, it's hard. And you know what? It could just be credit to Hawthorn, because they did play really, really well. Like, you know, Chris and I spoke at halftime, and we said that it's a shame. It's a good that they can't kick straight, because they would be way out in front by this point. And, you know, that ended up happening. They ended up scoring some really amazing goals. So it could just be that teams that are doing worse on the ladder end up having really good games against us, like when West Coast nearly beat us. So, yeah, it's just a disappointing showing, really.
Yeah,
it is. It's like this. I feel like there's not too much of a gap either between teams. I don't know, maybe 8, 9, 10 on the ladder, all the way down to the bottom parts of the ladder. There's not a huge gap. So if a Hawthorn who's only won one game coming into this has a good day, they can easily knock off the Swans, who have had 3 good wins of the season. And these teams, there's probably a lot of competition too. Like the Hawthorn team will be thinking, okay, they've come in the same. This is a team for us to have a real crack at. They probably built themselves up to this game. It was one that was circled in the calendar weeks and weeks ago. This is a game we're really, really going to hit. Swans have come off a road trip. They've come off a big win, a big rush, and been brought back down to earth. And that happens in footy.
That was interesting you say that, because I kind of feel that maybe the Port game was our little highlighter on the calendar to be like, we're going to go back to Adelaide, but this time we're going to compete. We're going to go super hard and blah, 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 blah. Maybe that was a bit of their side as well, where Hawthorn was like, look, they gave us a scare last time, and we managed to get back, and this is the game where we want to kind of really come up with it. So,
yeah. And it was Hawthorn's first ever win on the road, which obviously we did last week. Yep. And that could have even been, if we want to ever get a win on the road, this is our opportunity, because at the moment we don't seem to have the best track record at Henson Park, which is a bit sad, it being our home ground. But it's again good opposition are looking at those things. They go, maybe this isn't the ground for them. Maybe they're better at North Sydney Oval. Maybe they're better at smaller grounds. Things like that.
Yeah. I think this is quite interesting too. Like just this discussion that we're having now, we're in season 2 and we're livid in a way about the way they played. Like our expectations of the girls is quite high, and only because of what they've been able to deliver on the field so far. Like, so although we're suggesting, oh my God, we're a bit disappointed. This is a good thing. We are meant to, like, they're playing really well, and they've got great players, and they've gotten the most out of a lot of these players, and there's more to come. And it's fine, right?
Yeah.
As fans.
If we had lost every game up until this point, I think, we'd be having a different conversation. We would have been like, it was close and we did a good job and the defenders did really well, but it's when we've already got to the expectation of the girls hitting certain targets and doing certain things well, and when they don't meet those certain expectations, it is hard to kind of wrap your head around the fact that they're only played 17 games ever and things like that.
It's not bad. Steve-O, I guess... finals, are we suggesting that finals are kind of, we can scrap that, or we still have a chance given the way that the season is going and the way the teams are playing?
I think if you look at the amount of teams that are clustered around that middle part of the ladder, finals is going to be tough, and I don't think it's even the matter that the Swans can't get the wins, because we've got the Bulldogs, we've got Fremantle, we've got Collingwood. They're all games we can win. Collingwood have knocked off Brisbane, so I think that probably not. Fremantle, I think, is away. So that's another tough one. We've got the Bulldogs. Even if we won those 3, I think just because our percentage is quite a bit off the teams we're competing with. Like, our percentage is, I think, 79, 80, around there. Yep. And then the teams that we'd probably be wanting to displace have got percentages up in the mid to high 90s, even over 100. So we're really probably 2 wins off the finals rather than 1, which the ladder points which is just because of the percentage. I reckon it's going to be tough from here. But one thing we absolutely would have to do to have even a hope of it is to win next week against the Dogs, who've been struggling.
Yeah. Well, it's not all doom and gloom. Good, the bad, and the ugly in the stats. Polly, did you have any moments of the game that you want to kind of talk through?
Yeah, I said it a bit earlier, but I think the defenders were fantastic. Yeah. If they didn't stand up as well as they did, the Hawks could have won by 50 easily. Some of the defenders back there, we'll get into it in the Bob medal, had absolutely phenomenal games. Like, there's only so much they can do. The ball felt like it was down that end of the field the majority of the game, and you're going to let some in, and they only managed to lose by 2 goals. So they had a really good game. And I honestly, credit goes to them, because we couldn't move the ball anywhere else on the field. So we managed to hold them up in their forward 50, which was good signs, because you're going to need to do that against even better teams.
Yeah, no doubt. Steve-O, what about yourself, mate?
Yeah, sort of tacking on to the back of what Polly's saying. I mean, bringing the ball out of the back line struggled big time. I lost count of how many forward half, like our defensive half intercepts the Hawks got in that game. We just weren't clearing the back line. But then the other part of that is when we were getting it forward, we weren't making the most of the relatively limited opportunities that the midfield and the defenders were generating when it was coming forward. There was a point in that second quarter where there were 3 really bad set shot misses. 2 in particular were quite bad, by Ham, Privatelli and Hurley. Really good build-up play, all of them. Really strong marks inside 50, all of them. And any of those could have sort of swung the momentum. That was in the start of the second quarter when we were ahead still. And they got back ahead by a couple of points. We could have got ahead. We could have got ahead again. And then the momentum of the game shifts totally. Hawthorn can't just play a smothering, congesting game. They can't just lock it all up. They've got to find a way to score, which they eventually did in the third quarter. But if we've been able to push ahead by a goal or 2 or even 3 in that second quarter by maximising on that really good work coming up the ground through the midfield and the defenders, it really shifts how the game's played by both sides. So that was disappointing to miss those ones. And then again, we saw the same thing in the final quarter when I think it was Cynthia Hamilton had a set shot, which he missed as well. And that was when we still could have had a bit of spark. There was time left in the game. But when you do that, like when forwards miss shots at goal, especially set shots that have come from good build-up play, it really can deflate the midfielders and the defenders who've worked their guts off to get the ball up there, and then you get nothing, and you're like, shit, here we go again. And that's a shame, because football is all about momentum, as we know, and there were some chances to really seize the momentum which we didn't get because of these errors.
Yeah, they were disappointing, all of those. I remember the one, Cynthia one in particular, you're mentioning there at the beginning-ish of the last quarter, when she was lining up, it was like, what, 30, 35 kind of out maybe from just a slight angle. And we're like, this is a forward, a veteran. I'm calling her a veteran. She's freaking 17 games in. But I mean, you know, like,
best and fairest winner though. You know,
yeah, best and fairest winner. You know, she's got a lot of expectation, and this year's not been quite her best year. She is definitely building up though. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, that was madly disappointing. That was, for me, I was just like, God, that would have been the spark in the crowd as well. Like, that would have got everyone up and like, there's a chance here. We can rip it back like we did against GWS.
Yeah, and it's that reward for effort, you know, like all the effort goes in, you want the reward back. And then when you don't get it, like in anything in life, not just footy, you know, you feel flat.
Yeah. And you can definitely tell in the crowd, obviously Chris and I were both there, did feel like the Hawthorn fans were much louder than the Swans fans, just because it got to the point where we were like, well, we've lost this game. They're not showing up. They're not showing up like we thought they would. So let's just drink beer and eat cheese. That's what it kind of felt like at the ground.
Drink beer and eat cheese.
Yeah, there was no pizza this week. I did notice that. That's something I was a bit disappointed about. But they did have a good Brazilian like hamburger kind of thing. That was pretty good. Like smoked hamburger thing. That was pretty sweet. So
the catering was the real winner.
The real winner was my family, because they ate absolutely everything, drank everything, and walked out with a big smile on their face. So that was the real winner.
Yeah. Chileans. I mean, no one had a bad day. The game didn't really matter, I think, for most people. It was still a great day. 30-degree day at Henson Park.
Yeah, it was a cracker.
Was it that hot? Was it 30 degrees? Wow.
Yeah.
Do you know what the weather was like where I was? I was at a small little seaside village in southwestern Finland. It was blowing a gale and about -3 degrees. It was miserable.
A little bit different.
It was awful.
Sounds like Tasmania, basically.
Yeah, it was. I was in the northern Tasmania, you know.
I remember being in Tassie in mid-December. And I was out there on a big mountain biking trip by myself. I hired a van. I just fucking tripping around. And I ended up going up to the top of like one of the mountain, I think Meehan Ranges. I think it's on the eastern side of Hobart, on the Bellary side. I get up to the top of that mountain, and it's Arctic winds, like it's -0. It's so cold. And this is the middle of December. I go back down and we're doing whatever. The next day we go driving off to go up to Lonnie. It's literally snowing on us. And I'm like looking at the door. I'm like, is that snow? And I'm in the car, and there's a bloke next to me wearing a pair of board shorts and thongs and a t-shirt, and you see him actually just look up at the sky and just shake his head like I just picked the wrong day in Tasmania. Like, he looked proper local, but it was just like, jeez, I got caught out again kind of feeling. It is a wild
run home.
Yeah. Can't wait for them to get a football team. That's going to be fucking
it's going to be so
mental.
exciting. They're going to be hard.
Hardy people. All right, look, let's get stuck into maybe the Bob medal, because we did speak about all the players. We were disappointed in some aspects of it, but there were some really good players. As Polly said, quite a few of them stepped up. So, look, the Bob medal is the equivalent of the Bob Skilton medal, which is we give 3-2-1 points out to the best Swans players. And I have totally forgotten to think of a gift for this week. So in light of my parents and my grandparents having the best week, my grandmother makes probably the best torta meloja going around in the world. It's like this layered cake with like dulce de leche and all these layers. It's called torta meloja. It's like meant to be a million layers of all these like crispiness and deliciousness, caramel stuff.
Amazing.
It is amazing. She is actually famous within the Chilean community for making it. That's how good she is. So one torta meloja coming out to 3 points for Gardner, 2 points for Malloy, and 1 point to Tarrant. Look, either of you two, who wants to talk about Gardner?
Look, I think this is maybe the fourth week in a row she's gotten 3 votes. Another phenomenal game from her. She had 27 disposals and 8 tackles, and currently sits second on the overall coaches' votes for the league, and pretty clearly in second, which is amazing, because who would have thought a player that we randomly picked up from Geelong would just flourish at the Swans so easily and become one of the best players in the league. Who would have thought we wouldn't have a best player in the league in our second season, let alone the fact that this basically no-name player managed to come to us and just absolutely kill it. She's just, we can always rely on her to step up no matter what the situation the game is in. She will come out smashing, basically.
Yeah, like the best player in the team that wasn't going to be Malloy or McAvoy. Like
who would have thought?
Or Montana Ham for that matter, yeah.
Yeah, we got so lucky. So I hope she keeps killing it for the next 3 games, and I think she's really going to have a strong crack at it for best and fairest, but we will have to wait and see.
Look, at this rate, she's doing a bit of a Errol Goulden where she's just trying to rack up points halfway at the season and just trying to take it away.
And then break our hearts in the very last round.
And it just, boom,
She'd have to have a good lead, though, wouldn't she? 3 games to go? She'd be up there.
Look, I do have the numbers in front of me, but I'm not going to let you guys know.
Okay, fair enough. And I honestly, I don't have the patience to go back through all the run sheets from the previous episodes and tally it up myself.
I was talking about the league best and fairest, but she's
the league one,
I think she's definitely going to win the Bob.
Yeah. She's on the way to win the Bob medal.
She's got to be a lock. We could probably give it to her now, frankly. I think she could be just not even turn up for the last 3 games. She got a holiday.
How's my effort? I'm just like, oh, look at me, I'm so organized. I'm gonna show you guys what I'm up to. I haven't updated it since round 4, so there you go. I'm well behind. There you go.
You got a project for the week then?
Yeah.
It's just punching 9 numbers. It's not that hard.
By,
it will take me
by
all
round
weekend
10,
to do that. That's it. Well, as Polly said, 2nd overall in the coaches' votes, right? Like she is. Why can't she get the best and fairest? What is the best and fairest quad in the?
It's just called the best and fairest.
They don't give it to someone's name or nothing.
Not yet. I think eventually it'll probably be called like the Daisy.
The Daisy Pierce Medal.
Thank you. I forgot the last name. That's really bad. But I think it's going to be something like that. But at the moment, it's just the best and fairest, which is confusing because all the teams have their own best and fairest. So you're just saying like it's a bit weird when you're like they're going to win the best and fairest. Like which one? But So I really do think she'll have a crack at it. So we'll have to wait and see.
It's kind of funny if you're not a massive AFL or even league fan for that matter, and if you hear someone go, "Oh, they want a Dally M," you're like, "What the is that?"
Yeah, what's that?
When I want a Brownlow, I'm like, "That sounds lame," but it's actually like the best thing ever, right? So
At least Dally M was a player, though, right? Because the Brownlow, it's just like some Geelong administrator from like God knows how many decades ago. It's like
classic AFL.
I think that's what they're angling for. I think McLaughlin wants it to be the Gil McLaughlin Trophy.
You're right. You're right. You're right. It's going to be the Gil McLaughlin medal.
For all of his
That's going to be his departing gift.
No.
In recognition of his foundational work in somehow not destroying the AFLW.
So Dylan McGurkin
against all of his efforts.
But coming this close.
He tried hard in his time.
He only destroyed 1 league in his time. That's something to be recognised.
He's hired another guy to wreck the other one, the one he made up. Which we'll get into it down at the end. And the one last thing about how they're trying to do their best to pump the brakes and everything. But oh my God, Steve, you're right, mate. It's going to be called the Gila McGurkin medal. It's going to be brutal.
It's a sad world we live in.
Baby listeners, if you're listening now, go put money on that because it's gonna happen.
It's a lock. Like this. It's like it's like crypto, bro. Like it's a lock, bro. You're gonna make money. It's fine. Trust us. Trust us. Oh well. All right. Sorry. I guess. I mean, she's coming second in the Gillum McGurkin medal.
The Gillum McLaughlin medal.
Yeah.
God help us all.
Oh God, this is brutal. Polly's losing it.
Maybe jump to the next one.
Next player. Who else was good? Actually, what I will say, while we're on Gardner, while we're still on Laura Gardner, tell you who was on her from the start, Grant from Finland, who did the review of the Lions game a few weeks ago. He had Gardner locked in his fantasy team at the start of the season, and he's cashing in. He's getting points left, right, and centre. He was a believer from the start, so at least someone saw it coming.
Yeah, shout out to him because no Swans fans did.
Yeah, sure. So seriously, we're like, oh yay, we got another one. Like when we did the review, we spoke about Chloe Malloy and McAvoy, and we just got into a bit of detail about them. Then we spoke about the Irish contingent as well. We got got excited about like Julia Sullivan, and we kind of skipped over Laura Gardner. We're like,
we got this player from Geelong, and that was it. Yeah, that was the end.
That's it. And then all of a sudden, she's on her way to win a Gillum McGurkin. So
she's smashing it.
Yeah. All right, now 2 points. We move on to Malloy. Chloe Malloy, of course, captain extraordinaire with that absolutely incredible run in the first quarter to get our second goal, I think. Yeah, second goal. Pumped it over to Cynthia. Steve-O, do you want to take it away with old Chloe Malloy?
I think I like about Chloe Malloy, she's a very, very talented player. Like, she's got the skills of the game. She's got an incredible ability to just do small things that make changes on the field, but she also works really hard. Like, she puts in a lot of run on the field. She gets to a lot of contests. I was looking at the stats. She had 90% time on ground, which is a lot for a running type player to be on the field. Like, barely coming off at all. And, you know, one of these players who, when she gets the ball, that I think, okay, she can have an impact on what is going to unfold, and she takes the game on. Just like you said, with that great goal that she did. That was because she saw a slight little opening, which most players in that situation are probably going to dish off or take on the tackle, get brought to ground, just do a scrappy kick forward. She didn't. She knows that she's got that angle and she's got the ability through her body, and her hip movement is really, really strong, straight through these little holes and sets up goals. And that's the sort of stuff she's doing every week. Like, her highlight reel from this year is ridiculous. And she just keeps adding to it, you know? Like, she probably could have, she did the team thing by kicking it to Cynthia in the forward line. She probably could have had a bounce, run through the 50 and launch it herself, but she didn't. She did what she was instructed to do, you know, to kick long to a player in a good position. And yeah, it's just enjoyable. Yeah, it's just nice to watch her every week. And sometimes she gets caught. I don't even care. I honestly don't care if she gets caught sometimes when she's taking the game on like that, because most of the time she's going to break holes. So yeah, another really good game from her.
Few are strong enough to really hold up proper when she's on a run. So why shouldn't she go at it? Yeah.
Yeah, and like, just speaking of how she is as a captain, we had two what looked like potential injuries during the game. One was Amy Whelan, and when she went off, she was on there, and it looked like she was doing the physio work. I don't know if she has a background in first aid. I don't know, but she was like, yeah, she was there strapping, and she was like the first one to make sure the girls were okay. And then a similar situation happened with Lexi, where Lexi got a downfield free kick, and Chloe was supposed to take it, but instead of taking it, she ran to Lexi, pushed the other player off her, and came back and was like, no, don't touch my girls. Like, don't mess with us. Like, you can wait for me to take this free kick. I am telling you not to touch her. So it's really great just to see how much of a captain she is and how much of a leader, I think, is just makes it even better, really.
She is adorable. Like, in a way that's like how much she cares. Like, yeah, it's not adorable is not the way of it. Like, you can see that she's all smiles. As soon as the game's done, she's got a big smile on her face. She's like loving the fact that the team is competitive. Yeah, but then on the field, she's an absolute tiger. She's like, do
not mess with me. Do not mess with my girls. Like,
I love the slapback she gives to the taggers. Like, she just pushes them out. She gives them a bit of a hit at every single opportunity. I like this. So much to think. There's so much good about her.
She seems to relish it a bit too, because some players, when they get a tag, they'll go into their shell, but she kind of says, okay, fine, let's go, you know, and sometimes they shut it down a bit, but she just takes it on board and gets on with it, you know.
Yeah, 100%. Speaking of which, that big knock between the two players, that was pretty wild. That was only a couple of minutes into the first quarter.
Yeah.
And that looked full on, man.
It was, I don't know how they hit. Yeah. But there was so much blood. Yeah. It was crazy. So much so that Whelan had to come off the ground a couple times to be restrapped. And we'll touch on it in MRO. But she had to have her jersey replaced. The number 22 jersey had too much blood on it. She had to come back out at number 2. So she was playing as number 2 for the rest of the game.
The old Reece Shaw, yeah.
But they seem to both be, it just seemed to be skin based. I don't know, maybe if she hit some, like a clip in her hair or something like that. But yeah, there was a lot of blood for not a big injury.
Yeah, it can be like sometimes eyebrows just bust open like crazy as well. And
the skin splits easy up there. Yeah.
Head cuts in general just piss out blood all the time.
Yeah. Scott Gowan's mentioned 15 stitches. I don't know how much truth there is to that, if any, but it was full on. Like, it
wasn't in the incident report, so no, I don't know if that's true.
I think they just kind of padded it up and just got the bleeding stopped. So yeah, it was hardcore.
I'm trying to look up Chloe Malloy's work history, but her LinkedIn, I'm not a member of LinkedIn.
Hang on. I got you. Give me a second. Talk amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst yourselves. I've been doing a bit of Googling. She's done a few different things.
you know, it doesn't. They probably have to have
phone now.
first aid training. Being like, you would think that from like the grassroots level, because obviously she's playing for a while. You would need to have at least one girl on the team that has first aid training. So maybe that was Chloe.
This is like the thing where like 1 out of like every 10 people need to be like a fire warden.
Yeah.
Who is the fire warden in the team then? That's what we need to know.
Ooh, okay, that's a good question for
Hard-hitting
the Bevy
questions from the
listeners.
Bevy. Yeah.
Which of the Swans players are the fire warden?
Yeah.
Can I take that with notice? I might need a bit of work to get an answer on
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Steve, next week, come back and tell us who the fire warden
Who the Swans fire warden is. I reckon Montana Ham would look really, really cool in that hat, because you know in the workplace you've actually got to have the hat thing.
Yeah.
There. I reckon she'd look pretty cool because she's already so tall. I reckon she'd look pretty imposing with a fire warden hat on top of her head.
Oh, can you imagine Ali? How imposing she would look if she was wearing that hat.
She'd be in like the full, like the fire, not the riot gear. What do firefighters wear when they go into the, you know what I mean, the full suit thing, like with the shield and
the fire
and the whole
retardant
bit.
suit.
Yeah, that stuff. Riot gear. What am I talking about?
Someone who just walks into danger doesn't care less. I don't know. Who would it be?
Oh, Lexi. It's Lexi.
Lexi? There you go. It's Lexi.
Yeah, she'd be
Lexi's
a
the
good fire warden. She can
Yeah.
have the job.
She likes wearing hats and helmets, so like, you have to wear that silly helmet.
That's Cynthia.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's just-
Cynthia. Oh, God, yeah, I got it all wrong.
That's just,
All right,
her headgear is wicked though. Yeah.
I've looked up Chloe Malloy and her work history. Let me get it out a little bit. Okay, so she's been a receptionist, a parcel collector. She's also been a media and communications intern, a kitchen hand, and she's currently a support worker. But there is nothing in here about her being any medical training, although she probably would have some from the support.
A support worker, they would need
worker.
some sort of training, I would imagine.
Okay, there you go. So she is the most qualified person on our team.
Yeah.
Even
if
with
any of
the
the girls
physios
go
there.
down at training,
Yes.
she's on there, ready to restrap.
When I bumped into her the other week, I should have just feigned an injury, and that might have been the way
Cramp. Oh man.
just roll my ankle in front of her, and she's like, "Oh, you want to help?" Like she would, if she did the right thing by the team, she should have just walked away and just gone straight to the game and just gone, "I want nothing to do with this fucking crazy person."
Yeah, call the police. There's a really strange, erratic man on the beach run.
Yeah, this guy keeps falling over in Coogee. I don't know what the situation is.
He's falling up around me, like pretending I wouldn't notice, like 3 times. It's weird. Yeah.
I
And
think
then
he's
he
been coming to
tags
my
me in
work.
random reels on.
He's wearing a Swans hat. I think there's a bit of a clue to it. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right, we digress.
What else
So that's
happened in the
Chloe
footy?
Yeah. Let's get back to the footy. All right, so 1 point out to Tarrant. Polly, I'll pass it over to you. Let's go.
Yeah, obviously I've waxed lyrical about how good the defenders were, but Tarrant in particular was phenomenal. Without her there, Hawthorn would have scored a million more goals. She basically worked as a goalkeeper, 12 intercepts and 14 possessions, like just ridiculous numbers. She just looked so solid, and every week she just gets more solid in that back line. She's just, I'm so happy that she's there and playing that position, because she can take a mark like no one else in the team, for sure.
Yeah, she was special. She was really good without the ball, I noticed. Like, she was positioning herself. She was, every time that she had a player, she always had them in the right spot. I did notice with Ella Heads, as good as she is, there was a few times where she gave her opposition some room, and then by the time they got a lead, she was too slow to catch up with them. So she kind of gave them some room. She's like, all right, I'm just going to sit here and see if I can, feint them into like having a shot or something. And then as it turns out, they ended up getting an easy enough mark. And she did that a couple of times, but Tarrant was just solid. She was sticking to everyone. She's like human duct tape. That old analogy. Like she is the one. She is grand, and I think she is like the most underrated player in the team right now.
100%. And there was I think a string of 3 goals for Hawthorn in the third quarter, and I'm pretty sure it was when she was off the field. So I think that speaks volumes to her importance in the team.
Yep. One thing that Gowans did say in his little thing as well was that we're going to talk about Lucy McAvoy in a second, and he said that he's trying to move Lucy into the mids a bit more, and he's expecting to do that going forward. He wants to get her more mid minutes because she's naturally a mid. She's just designed for us. It's exactly what we need her for. But and he said going forward they're going to look at selection to try to make more room for her in the mids to try to fill up that back line. But just given how young that back line is, he's basically asked her to go back there and be a captain for those girls. But as we know, Tarrant's kind of got this Tommy McCartan energy where she's going back, she's learned the craft, she's learning very, very quickly. She might start being a bit of a general back there. So kind of looking at her for that next string of leadership as well. All right. Special mention, McAvoy. I quickly mentioned Steve-O. Do you ever got anything good to say about old Luki?
I mean, she's very strong in the back, and like you said, she's playing a role. She's playing a very strong leadership role down there, and the ball was coming in a lot, like a lot. And with the amount of ball coming inside 50, they probably could have kicked a bigger score, really. Unfortunately, we just weren't able to clear the lines and get the ball end to end, but it wasn't because of anything that she didn't do, you know. And she even kicked that great goal at the end, which made me think, man, that was a rocket of a kick. Like, imagine if we had her, like you said, playing in the midfield a bit further up the ground, sort of running towards goal more. Like, that's a real damaging player that we could have going through there.
Deeper entries into the 50 as well, which would do wonders for us, I think, as well, to not have to depend on that contested mark all the time, trying to get some scrap.
Yeah, and just getting it in a better range too, because we see in the AFLW that a set shot from around 40 is still on the very, very edge of the range of most of the players, and so you're really wanting to penetrate deeper than that. And so if you're winning the ball out of the centre and then hitting that spot between about 35 and 40, you're still not really in a comfortable goal scoring range. So if you've got someone like Lucy who can break that line, or like Clyde Malloy did in the with that beautiful kick in the first quarter, if you've got players who can do that, then you can get the ball in much better goal scoring positions than if you're sort of just dobbing it in around 35, 40, 50. Okay, it's an inside 50 on the stat sheet, but who cares? Like, it doesn't get you a shot on goal.
Yeah, you need those penetrating kicks. If they're penetrating kicks for the girls, are going to go 35, 40, like hard, and like to make a mess of the opposition. So to make the defenders panic. So you can't get a big, like, even if you get the loopy one. So yeah, you got to get in deep. So yeah, let's see. I mean, if we do start seeing her, if Gowans is like effectively saying, look, for the rest of this season, we're going to start moving some magnets, we're going to try some stuff out. Then let's see where that ends up. But if she gets more infield minutes. Yeah, you never know. Midfield minutes, rather. Bloody baseballer talking here. That'd be really good. Anyone else there, Polly, that you want to mention?
I mean, she's always on our list, but we've got to mention her name. Morphet was amazing again. I think even on the coverage, they were saying she's basically got the rising star wrapped up at this point. Like, it's going to be impossible to pick someone other than her. She's just been so good, and she hasn't found an opposition I've really thought she's struggled against. I think Carlson was the only one where we were like, that wasn't her best game. But apart from that, she's just been dominant against every ruck person she's come across. And it's really amazing to see. And I can't wait for it to continue to get better. Because again, all of these girls are very young. I think McAvoy might be the oldest. So they're only going to get better, which is even more amazing.
Yeah, solid. She's a special one, and picked up, as you said, rising star. If we get a rising star from her, that'd be just unbelievable. Like wow. She's 19.
Sorry, Giants.
19. Your problem. Steve-O, anyone for you, mate? Any last ones?
Not so much a best player, but just one that that I'm really liking every week seeing is Montana Ham. She wasn't in our best 5 players. I think the ones we've just gone through now would have been our best 5. And Montana, she had a reasonable impact on the game, but she's been injured a lot. And just every week she does something which makes me look at her and think, wow, that is a really, really class quality footballer. And if they can just get some consistent game time into her, she's going to be an absolute star. There was she didn't get the goal, unfortunately, but a moment that I remember particularly in that game was when she came out on a beautiful lead and goes back, and she doesn't convert it, but just the ability to take that mark. And if you watch the replay, you see her sort of drifting down, having pushed up as a higher defensive line. She drifts down, and then she's very good at turning her player back around, knowing exactly when to go, and she takes a very, very calm, strong mark. Unfortunately didn't convert, but that's a really rare thing for a footballer, especially when they're 19 years old, to be dealing with that confidence at the elite level. And the teamwork was great too, because the only reason that space was open was because of the work that was being done by people around her. And And while I mentioned it, Jade Anthony, who kicked it to her, was looking very good with the long sleeves in the number 44 with the white top. Those long sleeves, I tell you what, I'm glad I'm not washing the team jerseys because it's a lot of white to wash grass stains off. But yeah, Montana Ham, she's going to be a star. We can lock her in the book. Any disappointment so far with her is she hasn't been playing much footy.
Yeah,
she's amazing.
Momentary only, right?
Yeah, really good player.
Next year's sponsor's going to be Nappy Sand. I reckon that's going to be
yeah.
I think Omo is one of the Swan sponsors.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, perfect.
That's perfect.
Man.
All right, look, let's get to the ladder. So that's 3 wins, 4 losses. Like Steve-O said, 80-ish%. Puts us into 12th on the ladder. So we didn't really move at all. Thankfully, just the teams around us just kind of did their own little thing and it's kind of left us all together. It is, as Steve-O said, a big mishmash there between, a couple of teams in the 8s and the following few. So finals are going to be pretty hard to get to, but it's not a lost season, Steve-O. You've got a note here about how we've compared against some of the others.
Yeah, I think, okay, we've got a ladder of 18 teams, right? But there's only 4 teams that have come into the league at the same time as us. So if you think of like our expansion ladder, we're doing pretty good. It was you got Essendon who came in with us on 5. They've had an amazing season. They'll probably play finals. Like they're having a really, really good year. Essendon's got 5. Hawthorn have only got 2, 1 against us. Port have only won once. So out of those 4 teams that have come in, we're looking pretty good. We're the second best with 3 wins out of that bunch of 4. And I think it's worth keeping in mind too that of the most 8 recent expansion teams, of the ones that have come in the last 4 seasons now, only Richmond last year has played finals. That's it. So it does take a while to build to get to that point.
Yeah. So,
I think it's also worth mentioning that Essendon and Hawthorn all have VFLW experience as well, especially Essendon. They are a very good VFLW team, whereas us and Port don't really have that women's tradition of having a women's football team in Sydney and in Port Adelaide. So, it's even once you take a step back further, we're even doing probably better than what you would consider for the 4 teams that came in at the same time.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. Yeah, that's
state league level. It's a big drop down. I mean, the difference between AFLW and Sydney women's footy is very, very wide compared to the gap between AFLW and VFLW, for example.
Yeah,
it's huge.
Deeper talent list for sure for those ones. So yeah. But as you said, so I mean, Bombers with the 5 and we're with 3 wins, and we can only add to that as the season goes on. So, including this week, which is a fantastic segue, Chris. Well done for the game against the Bulldogs this week. The Doggies have had the brutal season for a bunch of reasons. 0 wins, 7 losses, including 48 loss to the Cats, 42 to the D's, and 42 to the Crows. But if you just heard me then, Cats, D's, and Crows, they also been given a tough run, just given where they did sit in the ladder for last year. So, and they have been absolutely smashed with injuries. What do you reckon, Polly? Warranted or just bad timing?
It's hard. It's going to be an interesting retrospective when we look back on this season and wonder how that really happened. But then again, by the end of each round, I'm hearing more and more, this player from Western Bulldogs got an injury, this player from Western Bulldogs got an injury, and they're basically, I think, running with one of their main senior players at this point. So it's really tough for them, and I do feel for those girls because, they are a foundation team, and to see that sort of collapse is obviously not what you want. And while we're happy to take maybe a potentially easy win, it's not the best situation in the long run for the league.
And who says it's going to be an easy win?
Exactly, it probably won't be. So it's tough. It's a tough one for those girls, and I think I've heard some rumors that there's some not good coaching stuff going on in the background. So let's hope that it's just rumors, because you don't want any of the teams falling that far down when they've been so high before.
Yeah.
And the bottom's bad too. Like if you look at the ladder at the AFLW at the moment, the bottom 4 teams have 3 wins combined between them, and the highest percentage is 56. That's Port, Giants, West Coast, and Dogs, and 2 of those are foundation teams, Giants and Bulldogs, which is not what you want in building a competition.
It doesn't look good. It just goes to show that perhaps the structure that they've got and it's just not there. Just the depth of players is not there. There's just a lot missing. When you've gotten this much of a head start, like the Swans should be bottom 4. You know what I mean? Like
yes,
yeah. You're like West Coast Port, fine. If they're in the bottom 4, they're developing. They've got a win or 2, whatever. But when it's the Giants and the Dogs with 1 win between the 2 of them, and both with percentages barely over 50, it's after 7 matches now. It's not like we're early in the season anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I think it's just general depth in the teams is not there for AFLW. Like there's a big gap. We've spoken about it before between your elite S tier players and then A, and there's a big gap between A and the B, and then between that and then just the serviceable players that make up the team, an enormous gap again. So talent is really hard to come by given how young this competition is. Like, I don't think we're going to have a problem in 5 or 6 years to fill up every team with quality players. But at the moment, it's just a little bit tough. We expanded the way we have, but hey, it's all been worth it anyway. So it's a still entertaining game.
Yeah, it's hard when you're a fan of one of the expansion teams because you do look at those original teams and go, especially for us, I think it's the Giants. It's probably the saddest one. You go, you had such a long time to build, and then we came in and we are the team that has the highest viewership numbers and we are the team that have the most attended games, and you go, well, that's definitely a good thing. But then you look at like the fact that teams are losing such talent and depth, and you go, well, maybe that's not a good thing. So it's really hard to justify in certain areas, and there's no clear real fix or way they should have done it really.
If you look at like 3 of those 4 teams you just said, like Port Adelaide, Giants, and West Coast, and then the Dogs are a bit of an outlier. They've had a terrible year with injury in particular, but those other 3 teams, they're all teams that exist in 2-team cities where you've only got a very limited player pool. Most of the players in AFLW are coming from Victoria, and in these other states, it's really hard to get them. It's quite impressive, I think, actually. It shows that what AFL Queensland has been doing very well to have both the Lions and the Suns in finals contention. I think that's an amazingly impressive effort to be doing that, because you look at the other 3 states in similar positions, it's the opposite. One of their teams is really struggling. So in terms of the long term, how do you think about player allocation when it's a short season? You can't expect people to move out of their states. The way that the draft is structured around state allegiances, it's really going to be continually tough, I think, for these teams.
Yeah, pay them more and give them more opportunity to move around if they want to, I think, is part of the key to it as well. So fill up some of those players from Victoria, spread the love.
Tap into that more Irish pool, because those girls are doing amazing. So bring in those Irish girls, because they are absolutely killing it.
AFLW Ireland on Twitter, if you're listening, you got to reach out to us.
Come on the potty.
Come on the potty. Let's talk about the Irish girls. We've got lots of love for them, definitely from our team, and there's plenty of mad talent out there. So, yeah, I know there's plenty of Irish in Coogee. We could just fill up half the team with freaking Coogee people. So it's basically second Dublin. So, yeah. All right, let's get the Dublin of the continent. So we do have a game ahead of us next week. So MRO, Polly, take it away. What's going on there?
Yeah, so it's mostly actually good news this week. So even though we talked about that nasty head clash that Whelan got in the first quarter where there was a lot of blood, she has been basically cleared to play with just a lesion. Lexi also came down pretty hard in the last quarter, and she didn't even feature on the injury list. So I'm taking that as both will be good to play next week, so we shouldn't be too worried there. Alicia should be back next week after her concussion break. So hopefully if we are wearing the Indigenous jersey again, she will get a chance to wear it. I'm really hoping that we will. And Brooke Lachlan, who's been out for a couple of weeks because of her MCL, she actually returned to training this week, and she should be good to come back next week. So we're looking fit and healthy, which is very exciting leading into the last couple of games.
Awesome. Selection dramas is always good. Love to see it. Danger players for the Dogs. What have we got going?
Ellie Blackburn's the last one standing, right? Like they're
Yeah.
really struggling.
Tough to say it.
It's been awful for them.
And she's a good player though. Like she's a very, very, very good player.
She's a very good player.
Yeah.
She's can carry that whole team on her back. But it is she pretty much is the only real concern, which is sad to say.
Is it poor form to tag the last surviving decent player of their team?
No,
is that
on
mean?
4 points. No, it's not.
Yeah, I guess it's a comp. It's a comp. It's
and
got
she's
medals.
probably used to it. Is the thing. Like it's not like like that's a game plan, and that's a game plan you play against any team. You're going to tag their best player, so why would you? You can't give that much sympathy to a different team,
It's not Mark 40, is it? Like it's like tagged.
And we got to win the bloody game too. I mean, there's. I think the main thing for the Swans has to be just to win.
Got to win it.
Not worry about what your opposition is. Just go out there and try and win.
Yeah, this is another one. They have to win this game. Like this has got to be a win for the Swannies for sure. There's nothing underneath that is going to be acceptable. Like this is a must-win game. This is the way they stand.
Yeah, and like I'd love to get to I mean, if we can't make the finals, which is probably unlikely, it'd be really, really great to get to a 50-50 season. Like win 5, lose 5, and we're on 3, and we got 3 to go. So it'd be really nice to get 2 out of those 3.
Yeah, well said. Definitely, that would be well above what we even suspected where we'd be at to be honest. So I was very, very, very bullish with my prediction, but I deep down inside I didn't necessarily believe that was going to be the case. So that'd be wicked. All right, one last thing. We have gone well over time, but it's okay, not a problem. We can talk about it. The Swans have the highest average home attendance. We know we've got the highest memberships, and we hadn't even done in our first foundation year, and we just had to continue that. And it feels like there's a solid ground support for the AFLW in Sydney. But not everyone is convinced that the league is going as well as it is. So, Polly, I'll pass it over to you so that you can talk about it, and then Steve-O and I can get really angry. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll try and keep the emotions out of it. So, we talked a couple episodes ago about how the player agreement has shaken out, and they said there was metrics, and it wasn't super clear what those metrics were. Now it's come out, and it's more clear of what those metrics are. So I'll just pull it up. But it's basically, in this season, each game needs to have an average attendance, or the average attendance of 2023 needs to be 3,500 per game. And then if that happens, there will be 12 games next season as opposed to the 10. Which, look, I'll let you guys get into it, but it is really frustrating to have the onus be on the fans, but I'll let you guys take it away.
Okay. So Polly's done a good job there of keeping that emotion, so now it's our turn. Steve-O, it's just been like all the success of the AFLW has been, it's been grand, and FIFA World Cups has come through, and it's proven to the world that just good sport, if you build it, they will come. They will sell out every game. People will turn up. Build on the game. Trust on your product. It will happen. It looks like they've just pumped the brakes, and now they're just like, oh yeah, this metric that we're just making up at the moment is for like 3.5, despite a lot of fields being outside of the city grounds and some places hard to get to in weird times. No night games, as Polly mentioned off the potty. No night games for the Swans would have dragged some good crowds over. There's just been nothing to really push us in the right direction. It looks like they are actively trying to slow it down. Steve-O, what do you think?
Oh, and it's just this case of setting a target that can't be achieved, so you can say, well, we were fair, we set a target. This target's been pulled out their arse, in the last couple of weeks, you're saying? Where was this even brought from, this 3,500, like 3,500 average across the whole bloody season? I'll read you out some numbers from last week's games, just the last round we had. These are all the crowds. 3,000, 1,200, 1,900, 2,800, 1,800. Swans, 4,500, biggest of the round by a considerable amount. 2,100, 1,400, 2,700. Those are the numbers from last week, from the 9 games. The AFL has these numbers. They know that they're not going to get to 3,500 average. They know what's not going to happen. Yet they still come out and say, if you get to this, which we know you can't, we will give you something which you want. Which even then isn't still even close to what is wanted, So bugger off, silly. Like, they're having a laugh. It's really, really cynical, honestly. It's poor form.
Yeah. I even go as far to think, have they just because it's been a press release that's come out today, that's why we're discussing it. I even wonder, have they released this press release to try and guilt fans into going into the last 3 rounds, which is not, like, that shouldn't be why people go to the games. The guilt shouldn't be the reason why we're going to these games. It's the quality of the game is why anyone is going to these games, and the enjoyment and the appreciation for these girls. Don't guilt us into going to your sport. That's never going to work. You just look stupid.
Yeah, and when they're not usually getting, like, most of these numbers, just looking, like, I'm looking at all the attendance numbers for this year on here. This is from Oz Stadiums or something. And even if they got, like, double their attendances for the last 3 rounds, they're still not going to get to that 3,500 average.
And why tell us in round 7?
Yeah, piss off. Say it at the start of the year. Like, it's really, really crap the way that it's just been done, honestly.
Legitimate making it up as they go. And as you said, Steve, I agree with you. Like this, I don't even think we need the tinfoil hats for this one. Like, it is legitimately, here's a target you're not going to hit. Oh, well, we tried. And it's like, you weren't going to try anyway. You were pumping the brakes on this anyway. We weren't that impressed with the way you suspected the growth was going to be going forward. And then you still put metrics in front of that to see where we can get there. And then you made up the metrics as you went. Like, it's just so disappointing considering the game is getting good. The competition is good. You watch the games. I have never seen bigger hits in footy, in AFLW in particular, but just general footy in the last 2 weeks in particular. There have been girls destroying themselves going at the ball, going up for marks, doing flips in the air. Like, the competition is awesome. Let it run. Let it get bigger. Let it naturally do itself. It just frustrates me too.
And then it comes out in the same week that they're going to try and extend the men's season to start first week of March. You won't extend the women's season even 2 extra games.
Yeah.
Like, how is that fair? How is that fair to the fans? How is that fair to the players? Like, it's just at the point where you having footy for only not 2 months of the year, and you're only dedicating 3 of those months to the girls. And even then there's overlap. So it's...
Yeah, and we've got to deal with all the
ridiculous.
crap too. Like even now, like, the focus should be on the final month of the women's season. We're hearing garbage about North Melbourne swapping draft picks with frickin' St Kilda. Like, I care, you know? Like
there's actual footy going on.
Yeah.
Like, if you're like, like, who cares? I don't care.
Yeah. I couldn't give a crap what fringe Fremantle defender is out of contract with North Melbourne. Like,
I don't care what second round picks got swapped.
No.
Riley, shut up. Riley, shut up. I only want to hear about the footy playing on the field. I need you to drum up support, get players, get people out to the games. I need you to focus on that marketing and get people to know there's still footy going on. I don't care that some bloke from whatever town is being considered for being traded for some no-man swap in round 8. Like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, and by the way, if you don't double your crowd numbers in 3 weeks, we're gonna extend it. Like,
yeah, you're gonna have to deal with having, and like, just to point on how stupid only having a 10-round game is. The longest ever suspension was announced today for 3 games. Now, if you think about 3 games in a 10-round season, that's
a lot.
A third of the season this player's been suspended for, which is like, it was probably warranted to be 3 games, but that's a third of the season. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
I don't even know if it is. I'm pretty sure Tom Bugg literally king hit Callum Mills. This is going back some years ago, and I don't know, I think he got 5 or 6 weeks, which is still not even in the equivalent of this. So that's a quarter.
That's it's just ridiculous. Like, man, it just makes me so frustrated. Don't put the onus on the fans. If you build it, they will come.
Yep.
It's clearly working in Sydney. What is Sydney doing? Copy it everywhere else.
Yep.
Give them time, but give them more games, because we're getting 5 home games. The chances are people are going on holidays. Like, they don't have just 5 weeks out of the year to just go to every single game. We are, because we love it, but not everyone loves it as much as us. And you shouldn't have to just expect the people that love it to be going to the game.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, and then also you can compare. I mean, there are so many different ways that you can show just how ridiculous this brand new demand of the AFL is. Like, compare it to some of the top men's attendance leagues in leagues like the A-League or even NRL, some of the weaker teams, and look at how many people they're getting in. And then all of a sudden you want every single AFLW club that's just bloody started, some of them, in sometimes hostile environments in terms of people don't even know what football is in some regions, especially Western Sydney. Like, they're really the ones that are getting screwed in this, I think, GWS. They're
Yeah.
getting absolutely
I mean, when are they
forgotten
not?
about. Yeah, like, oh my god! And then you expect like the Giants to be getting 3,500 people to a game in Blacktown on a Sunday morning at 10 o'clock whenever they bloody
Blacktown
play.
on a 35-degree day at 1
Yeah.
p.m. in Blacktown. Yeah, that's real logical. People are definitely going to go to that. Like,
Like you're right, Steve. Like some of the A-League attendance is like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. This is soccer. This is the biggest sport in the world. This is like you post anything about soccer, it'll get like a billion likes because everyone's all about it. Everyone understands it. It's the number one sport playing around the world. It's the number one sport in Australia that's being played. Like if you talk about all the grassroots and everything else, yet they're not getting the numbers coming through sometimes. Like don't get me wrong, the bigger teams and bigger tenants and big cities on a Friday night when it's all marketed and etc. will, but all the regular games aren't. So the AFLW is doing very, very well considering the amount of like marketing and actual effort it's getting, I think.
Yeah, and it's a brand new comp, effectively. Like in terms of a national comp with 18 teams, it's a 2-season-old competition.
Yeah.
Like, get a grip.
I know this is what I also blame. I also blame podcasts, AFLW podcasts,
like us, people like us.
We're here doing it. Where is the other podcast? Where's the other Swans podcast in supporting their girls and their team? Right? Where are they? Where is the GWS guys and Squinters? I love them. God bless them. But where are they? They're not focused on this. It's also everyone else.
It's the culture
bullshit
around the footy.
Yes.
It's the culture of it's a less good product. It doesn't deserve the airtime, which is bullshit.
Yeah.
Look
If
at
you're
all
a
the TV,
supporter
look
from
at
another
Foxtel.
team that's listening to this because you have to, because no one else is talking AFLW, then go out, go find your regular
depressing.
podcast and annoy the living daylights out of them because you deserve better than them. And if you not getting out, go make something. I'll help you. But it needs coverage from the ground up. Everyone needs to get involved.
And it's the other way, like the whole way the media looks at it too. Like I subscribe to this international AFL channel here, which is mostly all of the Foxtel content, all of their shows and crap. Most of them, they stop 1 week after the men's grand final. That's it. They're done for the year. And then they pop back up in the men's pre-season. And it's like this football's not even happening, you know? It's starting from that level and it's everywhere.
Yeah. AFL themselves have a lot to answer for their own demise is basically what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Have we got that out of our system? Everyone okay?
Does everyone feel better? I feel a little bit better.
I feel a little better.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a
that
little bit
being
less
said,
better.
if you're a Swans fan and you live in Sydney, Melbourne, or Perth, you have one more opportunity to see the girls play. Just get down and see them play. It is so important at this point to get people at the games. I know we're doing an amazing job, but just get down there, go and see the girls. They are playing so well. It's just in your best interest and their best interest to go to the game.
Well said, Polly. Well said. I know I took my family to most of their first games and they had the best time. Their best time. And they will be going to all the games going forward. So you can get members really attached to AFL on the back of AFLW. Like you really, really can.
Think about the amount of little girls that we saw on. Like it fills my heart with joy because I didn't have that growing up.
Yeah.
Get your little girls down there. Get your little boys down there. They just want to go and have fun at the footy. Like, it's just a great opportunity to get people involved.
Yeah. I remember talking about this with Noddy, and I might as well bring it up quickly now because he just reminded me that when I went to watch the GWS Swans game at the SCG last year, they had kick to kick. And I remember going out there, and it wasn't the most attended game. But what I noticed was that there was mums out on the field kicking with their little girls or boys. Like, that's not traditionally been what it's about. You know what I mean? No. It's normally been mums, like, you know, not going to the game or whatever. She's at home. And this is actually making a difference. Like, it actually is making a big difference. So please support your people.
More comfortable at those games than at the men's game.
Yeah.
So if you have someone in your life that just you have not been able to, convince, this is the way to convince them. They will enjoy this game. Even if they don't, they will have fun on the hill. They will have fun in the sun. Just, it's $10.
Yeah, it's
$10 of your life in 2 hours. It's worth it.
It's bang for buck. It is bang. Yeah. All right, look, we're going to pass it over to the most famous Swan supporter in AFLW right now. Polly, you got gifted some merch. Would you like to tell the audience how important you are, please?
Yeah, so in some good news and, some recognition of fandom, I guess, at the end of the game, I got a message on Twitter from the Swans social media account being like, "Are you still at the game? I have something for you," which very random and out of the blue. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm still here." And so Michelle from the Swans was like, "Come down to this part. I have something to give you." And so I walked down, and because it was Indigenous round, Mickey O was there, which I didn't know. And she actually got him to sign a couple badges for me. So I have 2 signed Mickey O badges now. And not many people would know this, but Mickey O was actually the first ever badge that I had. And he was the only one I had for a very long time.
That's
and
awesome.
Michelle didn't even know that. It's total coincidence.
Awesome. Yeah.
And it just shows that, like, if you're putting in the effort to talk about the AFLW, the gift will be given back to you. So, just putting that positive energy out in the world. I'm very, very thankful and very, very blessed that that was the case. And yeah, we just got to keep talking about it, and that, you know, it's effort is being shown and people are appreciating the stuff you're putting out there. So if you are tweeting about it, if you are making content, keep doing it because it is worthwhile.
Yeah, 100%. And we are, and in all fairness, Polly is the number 1 AFLW fan for Sydney Swans for sure. That's no doubt. Zane Renner-White, the godfather himself, the man, he was the one who put me in touch with Polly when I was asking around for someone. So there is no doubt in anyone's mind that it's very well deserved. So Polly, that is genuinely coming from a good place. Jealousy, granted, but from a really good place. Yeah, you're very much deserving of that. So yeah, well done for that. All right, well, that takes us to the end. It's been a long episode. We appreciate everyone for listening. We have blown up a few times in it, but that's just the way it is. The cookie crumbles in different ways every week. All the best to the girls this week against the Doggies. Some of us will see you at the ground. If you are going to the ground, please reach out to us, and we. Oh my God, hang on, we got some.
Polly, I will be at the ground. I will be at the ground. So if you do see
that's
me,
right. There
come
we go.
and say hello. I love talking Swans. So if you do see me at the ground and you're in Melbourne, I will be there. So
clear glasses and a number 5
chat.
jersey, Chloe Malloy, if you're thinking about it, with a badge that has Mickey O'Loughlin's signature on it. Yeah.
Signature on it.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well then, yeah, Polly will see you at the ground. But until then, up the Bloods and can you Swannies?
Swannies.